This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City head back to Citi Field to host St. Louis City. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
New York City FC returning from the international break to host St. Louis City SC at Citi Field. There you see it in Queens, New York. It's the first home match in Queens for New York City in 2026, just across the street from Etihad Park, the soccer-specific home of the Pigeons, which will be christened in the summer of 2027. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're also back for the international break. I'm Glenn Crooks, along with Matty Lawrence here on NYCFC Pregame Live, ahead of our live commentary, which begins at 7:15 on the network with the pregame show featuring Pascal Janssen, the head coach for New York City FC. And Matty, you came in not with me today in the car, so I'm not sure what angle you approached. But this is the first time I've seen Etihad Park close up from a construction standpoint in a long time. I haven't been here in a while. And as you can see, we had to put our coats on right before.
It's cold out there,
I'm telling you, I was sitting in front of my house today with the sun bright on a chair while I was studying some notes. It was just wonderful. But also wonderful, and I have to admit, like a slight chill, when I drove up. I'm in the car, and this is the car in front of me, but there's Etihad Park there. And there it is next to Citi Field. That's Seaver Way, the road that divides Etihad Park on the left, and then Citi Field on the right. And then from the parking area, once we got in there's where we're doing the game from here on the left. And then in the distance is Etihad Park. So it really is pretty cool to see.
It's taking shape, and it is cool to see. It's great that NYCFC are going to have their own home, and it's also quite remarkable how close the stadiums are together, Glenn. It really is. It's going to be incredibly compact, that's for certain. But it's perfect sincerely because of the fact that they can use the same metro system, the same subway system, rather, the LIRR and the subway system. And the Mets have got it down pat in terms of the strategy of getting 45,000 fans in and out. So NYCFC with 25,000 fans, they should be able to do the same thing and come to an agreement with the city or whoever it will be to put on extra 7 trains and things like that, or Long Island Railroad trains, and it should be pretty seamless. You would hope, Glenn, anyway.
Somebody saying hi to us, and this is a gentleman who listens to us. These are Soccer Over Gotham recently. I co-hosted an episode and mentioned Matty's insight into how it takes center halves 30 games to form a partnership. So, Matty, they're learning from you. They're learning from you on the broadcast. Yeah. I like this, and then sharing it with the public. So thanks for that. That's but we also do this new thing. We're gonna have another episode tomorrow. We took the international break off. Not tomorrow, Monday morning, 11 a.m. We call it NYCFC Coffee Break. We do that live, and we'll be able to review this game, Matty, and talk a little bit about the U.S. men's national team, which if we have time, I'm going to bring up some things with the U.S. men, in particular, Matt Freese. The bad news from training yesterday was that Drew Baera, and it didn't happen in training, but here's the kid, homegrown, came in this year as the number 2 behind Tavon Gray. So it's no secret, Tavon's number 1 at right back, and then Drew Baera number 2, but also always important to have a number 2 and have depth in those areas. But Baera had a severe injury to a knee. It hasn't been defined or disclosed exactly what happened or exactly what the injury is, but he's out long term. And the thing that Pascal Janssen said in terms of who's the number 2 now, he mentioned Strahinja Tanasijevic can play right back, but he also said Kai Truin can play right back, which he did on international duty, right?
He played for Australia. They played 3-4-3, so it wasn't as a true fullback, but as a wing back, and he could definitely play as a fullback. And he played alongside Aidan O'Neill. They played a 4 in the middle of midfield. Did Australia, and he played just to the right, and Aidan O'Neill played right central. So, yes, not 4 in the middle of midfield, but 4 in midfield. And I'd class it right wing back as Truin and right centre midfielder as Aidan O'Neill. And, we know from listening to both of them talk that they've got a pretty good rapport off the pitch. Obviously, two Aussies in New York City, but also on the pitch as well, because they have played together a fair bit for the international team, for the national team, and as well, obviously, in training here and with Australia.
Well, I'm looking forward to their progress here, especially Trewin, who we've really I think we concur that off to a bright start with his new team coming in and really just landing and playing and really almost seamless in terms of his integration into the side.
Yeah, it has been. It's been easier for him having Aiden there, that's for certain.
And
add that to the fact that he came from Melbourne City, another CFG team. That has helped, I would have thought, a tiny bit. But yeah, he is, for any player, I only changed teams within the same country and within the same league in England, and I still found it took 3 or 4 months to truly find your feet, and that's staying at clubs within London, not just within the country, within London as well, and it was difficult to do at times. But Trewin's done it fantastically well. I think a large part of that is down to the quality of the dressing room. And I don't mean the quality of the players, I mean the quality of the human beings in the dressing room, Glenn. I think that has played a huge part in the fact that there is a real togetherness, a real family feel in this dressing room. And that has been really dictated to, maybe not quite the right word, but he has moulded it. That's down to Pascal Janssen, has moulded this true togetherness. Forget the football. I mean together as humans, as friends, as colleagues, and they do look very good together as well, whether on or off the pitch, that is.
The lineup was just released, and both O'Neill and Trewin will be in the 11 for the fourth consecutive game. Pascal Janssen going with the same 11. But to the Aussies first, who had a 21-hour flight from Melbourne. They beat Curacao 5-1 in their last international. That was Tuesday, 5 a.m. our time. So no telling. I don't know the specifics of when they landed, but that's a difficult trip. Yet they're both here at the start. So I suppose what we'll look closely at is to see how long both of them could go. They're young, and maybe they can handle it.
It helps. They will be able to handle it easier than you and I, Glenn, that is for certain. But still, your body is not supposed to be at 36,000 feet, and it's not supposed to be up there for 21 hours, that's for certain. They're inevitably going to have got little niggles, little kicks in those games. So they are going to have worsened while up in the air as well. I think we were talking about it earlier, Glenn, as well. I think it smacks of the fact that this squad is not particularly strong right now, not particularly large at the moment. There is no Pereira, no Justin Hack. There is no Alonso Martinez. The true quality in this squad, or the depth in this squad, has dissipated. No Julian Fernandez either, Glenn. I think it smacks of more the lack of squad depth, more than the fact that we've got two young Aussie boys who will be able to handle it. But let's be honest, they will be scientifically or biologically, however you want to class it, they will be jet lagged right now. They will be jet lagged. It's impossible for their bodies not to be right now when you've crossed that many time zones. So will they be able to last the whole game? Probably not. It will be intriguing to see as the game pans out. And can they start the game in full force as well, Glenn? It's hard to do. They will be a little bit lethargic. They've just flown for 21 hours just a couple of days ago. You don't just get over that straight away. We know they will have been looked after well. They probably flew first class. They were probably lying down most of the way. But even still, it's unnatural for your body to be at 36,000 feet.
All right, so they will endeavor to get the start with the New York City 11. We don't have St. Louis City at the moment. We'll get to that when we can. And we'll also get to a preview of that match in a moment. New York City coming off a 3-2 defeat to Inter Miami at Yankee Stadium. Largest crowd of the year there. It was a fairly entertaining match. Meanwhile, and that was the first loss for New York City, St. Louis getting their first win of the year before the break at home. They defeated the New England Revolution by the score of 3-1. There's also a game complete today in MLS and two others that are well underway and probably near completion. I suppose we can get to that area. Well, let's do that in a moment, because I wanted to go back to the I wanted to share this with you, Matty, because I haven't had a chance to show you this yet, and that is and I'm not even sure if you're aware of this, but pro referees contacted me after the Miami game, and we remember Dane St. Clair coming out of the area, and it looked like he may have handled it. We didn't do this on coffee break, did we?
No, we didn't.
Okay, because I talked to Mark Geiger. So they set me up with Geiger, and the general manager of pro referees, former referee in MLS, so that he could distinguish between the St. Clair no handball versus Maxime Crépeau against Orlando, which was a handball in the 18th minute. New York City scored 5 after that, won 5-0. Here against Miami, it was 3-2 when St. Clair came out of the area. And so the game could have changed if there were a red card. So what I'm going to do now is play this little thing from Mark Geiger, a clip with Mark Geiger kind of explaining the situation. Remember, the AR also raised the flag for Crépeau. VAR did not overrule. No flag went up. And I'll show the screenshot because first thing Matty said is the AR is way behind the play on that St. Clair incident. All right, here we go. Here he is, Mark Geiger.
No, you're exactly right. So the line is part of the area it demarks. So the line itself is considered to be inside the penalty area. So for this to be a handball offense, the ball would have to be clearly outside of that line. So in this particular case, the VAR could not say that the ball was was outside of the line. If they think that there's a possibility that the ball is hanging in the air over the line, then it's considered to be inside the penalty area, and thus there would be no handball offense.
I'm assuming you've seen that screenshot that was shared all over the place, where it really, I mean, if you look at it, you go like, wow, it looks like the ball is completely over the line. So what say you about something like that as far as what the VAR is looking at?
Well, I've seen a couple doctored images as well, but the ones that the VAR had, I can't say for sure. Could it be outside? Yeah, it could be outside, but there's certainly nothing that's clear and obvious to say that it is 100% outside of that penalty area. Every stadium is supposed to have 18-yard cameras, and just because of the layout of the stadium, it's not always feasible to have it perfectly in line. Of course, that's something we would have wanted and would have helped with this situation. But because the 18-yard camera in Yankee Stadium is a little bit further up the field, maybe 25 yards away, it created a little bit of a dilemma for the VAR as well.
Yep.
The 18-yard cam was 25 yards up the field. Brilliant. Yeah. And the assistant referee was about 30 yards up the field. So
neither there was no camera and there was no AR to effectively make that call.
And I know I've made those two jokes there, but Mark Geiger has said everything that we said at the time. There was no definitive pictures to say it was outside the area because the assistant referee wasn't in line with play either. He couldn't tell. Right. So it has to be conclusive evidence to go against the AR, who himself couldn't actually see either. So none of it surprises me at all. Mark Geiger, I don't want to say it was gracious of him. It was the right thing of him to do, to come out and explain everything. And he's also right. And I did say as well in commentary that Yankee Stadium would take a little bit of heat because inevitably there'd been somebody saying something about the camera angles from a baseball field. And it all fits into place. Because I've got no problem with that. If you cannot tell, or if there is not clear evidence that the whole of the ball crossed the whole of the line, so it was therefore outside the area, then the on-field decision has to stand. I haven't got a problem with any of that, even though I do think the ball was probably out the area. But just me thinking that doesn't mean anything. I need proof.
If you're a subscriber to SiriusXM, sometimes I'll say this on the app is the entire conversation with Geiger because we go over some of the new rules or the proposed rules as well. But I came across something here, Matty, and I didn't propose this to Mark Geiger, but there are ways maybe for referees to better defend themselves when a coach or a player does something that's a bit rude, but here was something in a recent game.
También Gianfran Blanco ahí, y es que no es así, pero el jugador quiere que porque el jugador.
Tranquilo muchachos, tranquilos.
No.
All right, so
so you're advocating violence. Okay.
Well, if it takes a karate kick for somebody that's coming at you with a weapon, the weapon was a water bottle.
And why not?
Boy, referees have to deal with a lot. I do feel for them. Look,
No, so
I
do
think
I.
some of them are
And
better
look,
at
I
what
was
they do than
somebody-
others,
and I was somebody who berated the referees viciously when I played for a large majority of the time. The referees that were the best were the ones who could communicate and didn't act arrogant, didn't act as true dictators, even though they are, and the ones who would talk you through the games and would explain their decisions. I never got in disagreements with them because they would always say, look, if that decision was wrong, I made a mistake, the same as you just made a mistake, that cross that went behind the goal. So it's all it's all pretty valid for people to castigate referees, but also we have to look after them as well.
All right, Chris Sakona says, pass me the St. Louis lineup on his phone, which I'm going to give it really quickly before the phone disengages again. Berkey in goal, Orozco, Baumgartner, Polvara, the former New York City Academy kid. So it looks like a back three. Valum, Santos, Durkin, Edelman, Cordova, who will replace the injured player, Hartle, and Betcher. So it's exactly the lineup you would have considered. Pompeu, who really had a good game in that 3-1 win against New England, suffered a season. Well, they don't call it a season-ending injury, but it is an ACL, and it happened in training, and it was non-contact, which is the craziest part of the ACL, is that a high percentage of them are non-contact injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that is a season-ending injury. We know that for a fact. And it's a real shame because, I watched that game as well, or certainly the majority of that game. And I don't quite want to say he's just a bag of tricks because he's a little bit more than that.
But he has something unique.
He's got something
club.
about him, and he can create opportunities, he can create chances, and he can take players on. And it's great to see in the modern game players who take people on, and he has that, and he has that ability. It will be a big miss for them. Cordova comes in as a DP, but
and a much different player too. He's
absolutely.
Pompeu is like 5'9", little 1v1 kind of guy. Cordova is 6'2", and it seems like his better years professionally were early on. So we'll see what happens. He is a designated player, and he's contributed very little in 2026 for St. Louis.
Which is a problem when you're a DP. We've said it all the while, and we say it on air time and time again. We said it about Santi Rodriguez. We say it about Magno. We say it obviously about Fernandez Macau. If you're going to have the tag of DP in this league, because of what it means, you can only have 3 of them within your team. You have to produce. You're earning the big money, and you have a big title on your back. The big D, the big P, you better produce.
Well,
Cordova hasn't.
How about the DP on the New York City side, Tylus Magno, who has now played in all 5 games off the bench, but only a total of 66 minutes. He had that 30-minute shift in the victory over Colorado 3-1 and had his first goal in quite some time there too. But where does he fit in? I think it's a really good question, and we're still not quite clear on that.
I think right now you're happy to have him, that bird of prey, that raptor coming in off the bench, because we know from speaking to Pascal Janssen, more predominantly yourself than me, Glenn, that Pascal Janssen, and whether it's still the case to this day, doesn't think that Magno is up to playing 90 minutes. And probably more to the point, isn't up to starting a game because he lacks the fitness. I'm not saying Pascal Janssen said that actually, but I thought, in my opinion, the insinuation was there that he is not up to speed in terms of fitness to be an NYCFC player. I don't think there's anything wrong with me stating it like that. I think that's how he put it. But Magno is incredibly talented. We know that, Glenn. Bring him on for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and he does have the ability to change a game, that's for sure. But we saw it previous to his loan spell at Corinthians. He didn't have it. He couldn't do it on a Saturday, then the next Saturday, then the next Saturday as a starter. He was wildly inconsistent, and that's infuriating when you've got such a talented boy getting paid such a large amount of money that he just cannot do it every week in, week out, as the cliche goes. Whereas Fernandez Macau has already proven that he can, Glenn. I think there's a big difference between Fernandez Macau and Magno. Where does Magno fit in? He fits in coming in off the bench right now because I don't see him being able to do anything more than that.
That's his first goal since June of 24, and he had
for
NYCFC, and he had his first assist for NYCFC earlier in the year since May of 2023. So He does have a goal and an assist. It's all in a reserve role. It's in 66 minutes of competing, so we'll see how it goes for Tyler Magno. St. Louis City is the opponent today with a record of 1-3-1. They were whitewashed 3 consecutive matches, no goals, and they had a 300-minute goal drought until Simon Betcher scored in the 29th minute against New England, a game they ended up winning 3-1 at home. So Pascal Janssen, the obvious question, what do you think of this St. Louis team under a new coach? Yohan Damet, young guy, 36 years old, has worked extensively under Wilfred Nancy.
Yeah, I think you put it well. It's a change. We saw the same process in preparing the game against Colorado, which was also something completely different than they played last season. Obviously, they're from the other side, so we faced them only once. But like I said in the presser already, the games that we've seen so far, very interesting because they played well. Good football, good ideas as well, tough to beat also, and they also got less than they deserved, if you ask me, because the results were not in their favor, at least not the majority of the games. But they deserve more based on what I've seen so far. So it's going to be an interesting game to see this weekend against us, because if you look at the results only, you would expect a team that is not doing quite well, but that is based on the numbers only. And if you watch the games, you can only say that that is different.
And that's the New York City gaffer, Pascal Janssen, talking about St. Louis City SC. And yeah, certainly I want to play one clip for you here, Matty, and then we'll talk a little bit more about them and what you've seen under Damet. But things have changed radically, and who better to ask than Roman Berkey, the goalkeeper, the captain, guy who's been there from the outset, in fact played for the 2 team, came over on the transfer from Dortmund, played for the 2 team before joining the first team in their first year, 2024. So here's what he said. This is a preseason conversation at the Coachella Invitational. I sat down with him 1v1 before training one day.
Well, it's completely different how he wants us to play and how we are going to play. It's actually fascinating how fast and how quickly he made things clear and gave us a good understanding what we have to do on the field. It's a completely different team, basically, how we play. Like, if you look at us and you haven't seen anything now, I think people are going to be surprised how we are going to play. It's fun, and everybody is really accepting their role, and what they have to do, and everything is so clear for them that it just looks complicated, but it's actually very good explained by the coach, so it feels easy to play.
Somebody said recently to me, complexity is good and needed, but making a complex thing simple is the role of the manager. Can you give an example of how he's been, and clarity is a word that comes up so often in my conversations.
Yeah, I think like when we have the ball, it's just, he explained it so good that we need to have always 3 options to pass to a guy, and the guys that don't have the ball, they know exactly where they have to go to be available, so to give an option to the guy. Maybe it's just a preseason now, but I think we're going to improve even more. Like, it just made click, and the guys understood, and like they were waiting for something like this, like, oh, okay, that's how we have to do it. And it's also like a praise to the guys, our players, how we are doing it. It's just like everybody's so committed to learn and to study also a little bit. We have a lot of meetings, but everybody is like really bought into this, and we can see it on the field.
A lot of meetings, but it was interesting how I thought the part that struck me was that it seems like the players are a little bit more entertained, engaged, whatever it might be with the way they're trying to play.
Well, maybe have a little bit more belief in what the coach is trying to get them to do as well. Yeah. I think that's a huge part of it. If you believe what you're being told, you are on board straight away. You're buying into it and you perform better. It's inevitable. If you believe what you're being told is true, you perform better. If you think that the job that you've got to do is the correct one, you do it. If another coach tells you to do something and you don't really believe in it, you still do it, but you don't have that 100% belief to do it. And if that's just you want to go long and you don't like it when the manager's telling you to play short, go back to the goalkeeper. You don't have that confidence in yourself to play back, whatever it may be. For me, I took from Berkey there was as well options on the ball, which is, guess what? That's what football's all about. The best teams in the world, City.
I like specifying those.
Yes,
3 options.
absolutely.
I could see him stopping training now. So, what are your options?
Yeah.
Or I only have 2. Well, look, now you got to move another guy to become the third,
I would go
right?
loads further than that. If you're in possession of the ball playing for Man City, you've got 5 or 6 options. I would say that. Granted, option 5 and option 6 are, a 60-yard diagonal that's not really going to happen. You're not going to take that option. But 3 options. I love that. And that man in possession of the ball, stop it, pat him on the back and go, right, what are your 3 options now? Tell me. And that's what you have to do all over the pitch. It's pattern of play. You walk through it, not every single day in training, but quite a lot. You walk through it first, then you play against mannequins, then you play against the youth team, and then you play against the reserves, and then you play a pre-season game, and then you play the season, don't you?
I thought it was interesting. Dame, the head coach, said that the game they won against New England was their first win of 5. His first win was their worst performance of the season. So he's almost kind of, I think when you say that, you're kind of guiding it towards like, guys, let's focus on the performance, not always the result, especially early as we try to figure this out.
And also, we cannot forget that they played LAFC, they played Seattle, they played San Diego. They're the 3 best teams in the West, and they lost to those. There's nothing wrong
they were close
with them,
losses,
and they
really.
were close losses,
they were,
absolutely. So the record, yes, it's not very good, but they've played some very good teams, and then they've played Charlotte as well, who are one of the better teams in the East. So they've had a pretty tough schedule so far. The only team they've beaten are the team they should have beaten, New England Revolution.
The third goal that really sealed it, I want you to watch. I think you've seen it, but these kinds of goals are just sorry for Matt Turner. And this is the goal. This is the last moment, the last action for Matt Turner before he went on international duty with the U.S. men, joining Matt Freese and others in Atlanta. But let's watch it. So this is Marcel Hartel in the midfield, and watch the turnover here. This is Ceballos at the back for New England. Boom, boom, bingo.
It's a great try as well from Matt Turner. He goes flying up in the air, but he can't get anywhere near it. It's just a dreadful giveaway. When you see that picture there, the ball's not on,
because you can
ground.
ask, why is Matt Turner so far off his line? Well, keepers these days are asked to connect.
And he's given an angle in case the guy wants to go back to him. There's nothing he can do there.
He's
it's
just at the top of his area. Yeah, it really was.
But that's a 1 in 100. That only happens once in 100. The effort there from Hartel. The other 99, most of them go into the stand. But
so
that's
the second of the 4 goals they've scored. So he has 2 of the 4 goals they've scored this year. So that's the one thing for them. That is St. Louis City. The opponent today for New York City is they are not prolific in putting the ball in the back of the net. We'll see what happens today here at Citi Field.
They haven't scored away from home. They played 180 minutes away from home. They haven't scored yet. But again, they're playing against good teams away from home.
That's right. And here it is, Citi Field in Queens. And you see how large that scoreboard. So if you are watching, the scoreboard is almost bigger than the field. If you laid that down onto the field, it might be 110 by 7.
Put that in front of the goal, you definitely won't score.
Well, look, Matty, we're not going to have enough time to go deeply into this. But on Monday morning at 11 a.m., I'm going to really pick the brain of Matty Lawrence regarding the word intensity, because that's the one word that really came up in Atlanta when I was down there covering the U.S. men's national team for Sirius XMFC and others. Matt Freese played the second game against Portugal, but it was a 5-2 loss to Belgium with Matt Turner in goal, and then a 2-0 defeat to Portugal with Matt Freese in goal. And I'm just going to show these screenshots to set it up, because in between games, and this is what's really a privilege to be down there for me, but also as someone who has coached the game for a long time and followed the game forever, to be in the room and hear the words and the expressions, the tone of voice, but to be in the room sometimes is significant. So first of all, I'm going to show 2 tweets that I put out, 2 posts on X. Tim Ream was first to go, and then Mauricio Pochettino, and the word intensity is part of the description here. And Ream said, it's non-negotiable. It's something we did well in the fall and something we have to get back to. Now, you can't probably see it very well here, but this got like 200,000, I don't know what, hits, or people went fairly bonkers if you saw the replies on this. And I know that's one of the reasons you're not on Twitter, Matty, but but it was, and I'll get to the second one here in a moment. And this is Pochettino going later. I compiled a 4-minute video. I encourage people to go on my social media and listen to Mauricio Pochettino, because he said, intensity, watch football, watch Colombia, France. He watched a second division game in Argentina. So, Matty, I don't want you to go into it now. I'm going to tease 11 a.m. on Monday morning.
Yeah, let's get into it then. It'll be good to get deep into that.
But Matty, he said something to me over the phone regarding intensity, and the let's see, Taylor Twellman and Carly Lloyd both replied to the Tim Ream tweet or X post I put up there, and their basic thing, and that's what most of the replies were: why are we talking about intensity at the international level leading into a World Cup? So that's our tease going into Monday's NYCFC Coffee Break Live. It'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to review this one, too. Here we are at Citi Field, where New York City, their first game after the international break. Same for St. Louis City. We're at Citi Field, where we have an on-air time of 7:15 Eastern. That's about 15 minutes from now. And that'll feature Pascal Janssen, the New York City Profe, part of the pregame show presented by Ford, and then kickoff for our live commentary, 7:40. And if you're watching the game on Apple Television, to the lower right, you could use a drop-down app feature where you can tune into the English hometown radio commentary. That's me and Matty. And if you're in St. Louis watching this, you could listen to me and Matty. We give a fair broadcast.
We do.
If your boys do well, we'll let you know. We'll let you, if they do poorly, we'll let you know that as well. But Matty, good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
And we'll look forward to this one as New York City plays host to St. Louis City SC. Thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy the game, everybody.